Hey everyone, hold on. I'll be live in just a minute. I'm sorry. uh let's see. I gotta push a button here somewhere. Oh, I got this new computer, so I haven't quite figured everything out. Um there's a button. Dang it. Kind of. I think yeah. There we go. Hi. Good morning. Everybody doing today? I just woke up like 15 minutes ago. Made some coffee and combed my hair, and now we're good to go. Oh, thanks everyone for joining me today. I set up this time slot, early for me, so I could be in the time zone that's a little more convenient for a lot of you. And and I enjoy doing the live streams. I just have to get my whatchamacallit, my sleep schedule arranged so that I can get up a little earlier without looking like this, right? At least I put eye drops in. At least my eyes are getting clear. Anyhow, uh where was I? Let's see. Good morning. Let's see who's here. Beryl Burns. Good to see you. Roberto, Roy. Rob shoots photos. Good to see you. Roy again. Let's see. This is early morning. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm still a few minutes late, ain't I? Okay. And John follows. Good to see you. John Softly. Yes, I got your email last night about the Panasonic 100 to 400. Appreciate that. And yeah, so early, right? Heart. Oh my goodness! But a lot of you here with me, which is great. And I got my new Doctor Who backgrounds. It's a little bit off. I need to fix the lighting. When you do video, you need so much light to, like, if you ever see those live TV shows, they got lights everywhere. They need so much light for video. And now I understand it because I'm sitting here. I'm probably running like 400 watt equivalent. I'm using LEDs, but so I'm blinding myself every time I do a live stream. when I'm done with a live stream, I'm like walking into spots all day because of these lights. Oh, hey, good morning, Kostov. How are you? Let's see. And Luke Rod, John Leach, good. Okay, I got to turn my fan on. It's hot. Oh, tuck my shirt in. I'm like so unkept. Oh, but anyhow, I wanted to thank everyone again for joining me this morning, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. I think I see one from Roy, so let me get to that. And for those of you that weren't here Sunday, I did talk about the results from a little poll I put out for video features on our camera, in particular like the flip around screen instead of, like, how the EM10 has a tilt, right? And then you have the cameras that flip all the way around, because the new EM10 Mark IV came out, and it's a lot like the PL series, where it flips all the way down. And I think this is really the best option for photographers, and it's a compromise for videographers, right? But it turns out only 1 in 5 of you, and 200 and some people voted, only 1 in 5 actually wouldn't buy a camera unless it had the fully articulating screen that flips all the way around, not like these two cameras. And then the other 80% said, doesn't matter, or you don't shoot video, it wasn't a deal breaker. Which is, honestly, I expected a little more 50-50 type comparison, or a 50-50 type split, but it was like 1 in 5 would only consider buying it, wouldn't consider buying a camera without those features. So that was that was a surprise a little bit. But honestly, these cameras, the problem is if the cameras don't have the fully articulating screen and the mic jack, You know, on YouTube today anyway, they won't get much press from the vloggers. You know, all the YouTube channels, because everybody's a vlogger, right? And you know, if it doesn't have those things, it's not going to get much press. So I feel like at the very least they should have included a mic jack, but keep the screen the same, and I think that would have been perfect to get just enough press because of the mic jack, but then not mess with people that just like to take photos, the other 80% of us, right? So that's just my thoughts, and I wanted to share that. But let's see, what's the question here we have from Roy? From Roy. I have a question for Rob. Why does my LV Live View and Viewfinder show the images brighter than it actually is? I have Live Boost off, and it has been causing me to underexpose. Make sure you have Live Boost off on all the modes. Generally, by default, it's off, like in aperture priority. The other thing you can do is adjust the EVF brightness and live view brightness so that it's not as bright. Maybe the default setting is too bright for you. You have more sensitive eyes for that. And also, you know, the EVF and the live view generally don't have the same dynamic range as the actual image when it's displaying, because the EVF and the live view generally only display 8-bit images on the screen. So, you know, whether you're watching it live or after you take the picture, so it's not going to show the same dynamic range. So maybe just try adjusting the brightness of the EVF and the live view. You have to do them separately, I believe. Yeah, you have to do them separately. But that's what I do. Is I think I set mine to, look at my camera. It's time and date. This camera, this is my EM10 Mark II. It's really on its last legs. But the EVF has its own menu, and then the live view has its own menu. But you go into the setup menu here and adjust it. Click over, and you can adjust the brightness that way, like so. And then the EVF has its own menu. So that's in the menu with the little wrench on it that you go to. It depends on the camera, it may be in a different place, but generally speaking, just look for two separate places. And then on this menu, it says built-in EVF. You click on that, and then there's settings for EVF adjust, and then there's auto, right? So normally you can just turn that off, and then you can adjust EVF. Well, now you can't really see it, it's up here, but hopefully that helps. And again, the live view, make sure it's off in all the modes, because there's 4 different modes for live view. Wolf, good to see you. Let's see, Ishan, hi Rob, it's my first time that I can join you live. Oh, great. I hope, like I said, this time zone I think works for a lot of people, which I'm happy to get up early for you guys. And like I said, I need to change my sleep schedule, so I'm not like walking around jet lag every day. I'm making my final decision if I'm going to, Rob Shoots Photo says, I'm making my final decision if I'm going with the EM1 Mark II or the EM5 III. What features would you move you to buy the EM1 over the EM5? The handheld high-res shot mode, specifically. That's the only thing over the EM5 for me that make me choose that over, oh, wait, EM1 Mark II. Okay, specifically on the EM1 Mark II, over the M5 Mark III. I did a whole video on that, but for me personally, because I shoot professionally, it'd be the dual card slots, you know, and the longer battery life, significantly longer. Like I could only stream for about an hour if I was using the M5 Mark III. So those are the two things. In terms of photography, just general photography, the custom settings on the M1 Mark II are a lot easier to use because they're right on the mode dial, 1, 2, 3, right? Whereas the EM5 Mark III only has one custom mode, and then you have to go into the menu to get to the other two. So there's some workflow issues there as well for me professionally. And as a photographer, it's handy to have right on the mode dial rather than have to dig into a menu to switch. Because if you want to quickly switch between, say, your sports action settings to landscape settings to street settings, which can all be very different, right? To night shooting, it's a lot easier to do. You know, I'll give you an example. Like you're out on a photo walk and you're taking pictures of flowers and things, right? So it's pseudo macro or close-up photography. Those settings are going to be very different than, you know, you hear a flock of geese flying over and you want to catch them landing into the water. You have to be able to quickly switch into birds in flight or sports action, right? So I think, you know, the M1 Mark II is a better camera overall for all of those things. The only compromise is the size and weight, right? It weighs, you know, maybe 100, 150 grams more. But it has a better grip, better battery. It has a lot of advantages. It also has tethering, which allows you to, you know, tether to different types of software. So again, professionally, tethering is a big deal. So it just has a lot more professional features. And I think you're the one that does professional video, right? Or is that Rod? Anyhow, I get you two guys confused for some reason. I think you got similar icons, and then the first two letters of your screen name are similar. But yes, I would say for someone that's only going to use one camera all the time, EM1 Mark II all day long over the EM5 Mark III. And use the EM5 Mark III as a backup camera, or, you know, just something to travel light. If you just want something to travel light and you're a casual photographer, EM5 Mark III is a better choice. Because you don't need all those professional features as a, you know, casual photographer, right? Let's see. Commodore asks, have you been able to get the ISO limiter for video to work? We have tried and can't seem to get it to work. Which camera do you have? That would help, but I haven't tried personally to get it to work or not. I mean, I haven't tried at all, because when I do video, normally I just put it in aperture priority or program mode. 9 times out of 10, I'm in program mode, so I don't even think about ISO and things like that. And then even when I do video work professionally, and it's very limited, right? I'm just doing property videos. I just started doing property videos. I leave it in auto mode, even then. But ISO limiter for video mode, that's not something I'm really familiar with. ISO limiter for video. And there was another guy named Michael. I don't know if Michael's here. He was asking me about exposure comp for flash. Was overriding his normal exposure comp in the photo. So I might have another suggestion for you if you're here. ISO video limiter. Okay, I'll look into that though. I have another stream coming up Thursday. Maybe by then I'll have an answer for you. I find the articulating, John Leach says, I find the articulating screen is really useful for macro fungi photography when shooting at almost ground level. Yes, that makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, because it flips out, because even this screen you can fully do vertically, right, and pull it out just a little bit, but now the viewfinder is a little bit in the way when you're looking at it straight down, right? You see that? See how this is kind of in the way? So yeah, like I said, and then it doesn't tilt all the way down. It stops here at about 45 degrees. So either really high up and really low, fully articulating screen can be easier to use. Ishan is asking a question. Is it worth to upgrade to the EM10 Mark II to the Mark III for photography? Is there any improvement, image stabilization, or camera software for photographers? No, I would not upgrade to a Mark III. And if you want to upgrade to the Mark IV, you know, do it only for the articulating screen, because that screen flips all the way down. That is useful, you know, for you know, because okay, see, like the new EM10 Mark IV does this, so you can really do really high up. It has the same issue with the viewfinder getting in the way when you tilt up, but then, you know, you have to fully flip down too, so you can do selfies. So the EM10 Mark IV only for that, but not the EM10 Mark III. I'd skip it if you have an EM10 Mark II right now. A better upgrade path is actually the EM5 Mark III, if you can get a really good deal on it, over any of the EM10s. Any day, all day long, get an EM5 Mark III over any EM10. Another upgrade to consider is maybe the EM5 Mark II. If you just want to replace the EM10 because maybe it's, you know, it's end of life, right? It might be worn out like mine is. And you don't want to spend a lot, EM5 Mark II is probably a better update option than getting another EM10 or another EM10, regardless of what version. And the EM5 Mark II, you know, because of the weather sealing, the fully articulating screen to some extent, or that might be a negative, but it has a lot more features in it too over the EM10 Mark II in camera, like the high-res shot mode, which is kind of cool. I don't think any of the EM10s have high-res shot mode, which is really a nice feature. But yeah, image quality wise, there's no difference among all the EM10s. Even the new one, EM10 Mark IV with the new sensor, I don't think there's much difference. Piranha, good morning, good evening. Wu-Dang, how are you? I have a question. If I ever considered using Pro Mist filters to simulate high dynamic range for your camera. I've never even heard of Pro Mist. So I've never considered them. That's interesting, though. I don't see how they would improve dynamic range, though. I mean, by simulating a higher dynamic range, that's interesting. Yeah, it's a diffusion filter with halation effect. That's interesting, though. Interesting idea. I mean, it's... Honestly, I would prefer just bracketing a shot or using HDR rather than trying to fake it with a filter. But if you're doing video, you know, you don't have that option, right, to bracket things. So in video work, that might be kind of interesting. I have to look into that. That's interesting. The Pro Mist. And let's see. Verona says he bought a pen of secondhand and likes the Kodachrome setting. Yeah, that was cool. I can't take credit for it, but when you see the video, I put links to the person that actually made that setting. And if you visit his website, his screen name is like Siegfried. And he participates a lot in the MU43 forums. Again, in that video, I have all the links to everything. But yeah, that was a cool setting to play around with. Oh, Criminal, you got your EM1 Mark II. Congratulations. Yeah, it's a great, you're going to really enjoy it, I think. It's what I use for these live streams, actually. Not that you can tell in video, because I got all these lights and everything. But the autofocus is, you know, really good. um, and Fancy Bunny says, "Hi Rob, how do you know if an ND filter fits the camera lens? Do you need to check the millimeter measurement on the lens camera? See if it fits the ND filter with the same." Yes, you need to buy the proper ring size. Okay, so what I do is I buy the ring size for the largest lens that I own, which is, in terms of ring size, like I'll show you on this one. Ah, that was tight. Okay, so if you look on the lens, you'll see normally they'll list the ring size. Like right here it says 58 millimeters. right on the front somewhere, usually every lens. Sometimes when the lens is really tiny, they put the ring size, you know, on the barrel itself. Looks like all the Olympuses are on the front. Like this one has a ring size says 46 millimeters right here at the top. So you look for that, but I buy the biggest one for the biggest lens, and then I buy step rings to adapt that same filter to my other lenses. Now, if you only have a couple lenses and you're only going to use the filter primarily on one lens, buy one that matches exactly. You know, but if you're thinking about maybe in the future buying additional lenses, buy the biggest one you think you'll need for that lens that you're thinking about in the future, and then buy step rings to step down to the size that you for your other lenses. Arjun's asking, would you be doing a comparison between the M10 Mark II, the Mark IV, and the M5 Mark III? I don't have an EM10 Mark IV to compare. I can do a comparison between the EM10 Mark II and the EM5 Mark III. That's actually if I didn't make one already, I might have made a video like that already. I can't remember. EM10 2 versus EM5 3. I mean, that's a legitimate comparison, right? Because a lot of people that have an EM10 Mark II would be interested in an EM5 Mark III potentially. And there's definitely a lot of differences between those two cameras. Let me look at my channel. I'm trying to think if I have something like that already. E-M10. Let me do EM5 3. Tutorial. I have not done one. Wow, okay. That's a good idea. I'll definitely make one for you. Because that's a legitimate question, right? Hello everybody, Peter from Polska. Dummy battery works well. Oh, thanks. Yeah, Peter bought one of those dummy batteries that you can put into your camera that runs off a power bank or AC adapter so that you can run your camera indefinitely. As long as it doesn't overheat, which, you know, Micro Four Thirds doesn't overheat. So that would be my next question is, what's the longest you've run it on that battery if you had any overheating issues? But you used it with the motorized pancake lens, and next experiment, my own lithium ion cells. Wow. Be careful with those lithium ion cells. Wudang says, Promise filter basically smooths out the highlight and shadows. Gosh, I wonder how it would do that. I mean, it's because that's more than just having a graduated ND filter, right? Where it gradually changes the levels of light. You're talking about something that's just constant. Other than lowering the but I'll have to look at that and see if there's anything to it. That's interesting. And John Leach says, using the Starry Sky AF function in M12 or M13 in time-lapse mode to photograph the meteor shower, I've noticed that occasionally loses focus. I haven't done any time-lapse. I'm trying to remember if there's a way to turn off autofocus, because once you acquire autofocus, you really don't need to reset it for this. Let me look in the menu real quick. Release. Oh my god, it's been a while since I've done time lapse. I can't even remember where it is. I thought it was in the release menu. Show. I can't remember. Dang it. I mean, at first I thought it was the shutter. Come, it's not in a release menu. Exposure, display. It's none of these. I can't remember. Oh my god. Picture mode. Oh, down here, maybe. Shooting menu. Yeah, interval time lapse. Yeah, it doesn't have its own. It doesn't have a way to turn off the autofocus. So what I would do is, I would, once you've acquired focus with Starry AF, is go into the control panel and turn the focus mode from AF to MF without touching anything else, right? And it should stay on that one autofocus mode. Like, it should stay on that one focus plane that you just got with the Starry Sky AF. That's how I would do it, since it's not automatic in the time-lapse mode. I'm curious. Yeah, that should work. That should work. So after you acquire focus with Starry Sky AF, change it to manual focus and then go into time-lapse mode. And Criminal, you also got the 12 to 40 Pro. Yeah, that's a perfect combination with the M1 Mark II. And then Rob Shoots Photo says the M10 Mark IV barely got press. Ones like Jimmy from Red, Gordon, didn't cover it on launch. Wonder if Olympus didn't provide it or if they weren't that thrilled with it. Yeah, they probably didn't get them. I would think Jimmy would review it if he got it in hand. But yeah, it's not, like I said, because of the lack of mic jack and fully articulating, and the other news that Olympus, you know, may not be around, right? Or rumors to that effect that nobody cares, you know, about a camera without a mic jack and articulating screen. Which is unfortunate because, like I said, apparently only 1 in 5 people. I should have asked the question the other way, is if a camera has a fully articulating screen, is that a deal breaker, right? Versus, you know, you will not buy a camera that has a screen like that. That would be an interesting poll. Oh, thank you, Wudang. Says, my whole expertise is thanks to you. I learned a lot here. I appreciate that. You still can. Udang says, yeah, I switched to Sony, but I still can't let go of this channel. That's funny. I appreciate it though. Yeah, Sony, that's interesting though. Sony has Sony has a big following. It's a great camera. And Marked Wolf, hi Uncle Rob. Let's petition Olympus to send Uncle Rob an EM10 Mark IV for review. You know, it'd be better if they send it to me so I could give it away, right? Because I wouldn't really need to keep one. And if they send it to me and I have to send it back, you know, I don't know. I'd rather be able to give one away. But I doubt they'll do that. I don't know. But if Olympus, you want to send me an EM10 Mark IV, I'll be happy to review it. And then Levente says, have you done a comparison? Or robtrek, you have done a comparison, but it's specialist based. I'd be interested to see noise, dynamic range, autofocus comparison between the EM5 III and the EM10. Ah, okay. I would say that noise, dynamic range is pretty close. I mean, there's not enough difference between the two to make that a decision. For you to make a decision on one camera over the other. Image quality is virtually the same between the two cameras. It is a little better on the M5 Mark III, but not really in a way that matters. You really have to push the cameras to their limits to really see the differences between the two. So don't let that be a decision maker. Autofocus, again, the main difference is the EM5 Mark III focuses better in low light, but again, you have to be pushing the camera near its limits. But definitely the M5 Mark III is better. The image stabilization is by far superior on the M5 Mark III. And autofocus for video, phase detect, also continuous autofocus is better. But continuous autofocus, that's like 80% photographer skill versus the camera. But I'll do a comparison. Let me add in the noise and stuff so you can see it actually. Noise and AF. Okay. Arjun, hey Rob, my query was already answered. You actually have made a video comparing the M5 Mark III and the M10 Mark II about 6 months ago. Oh, okay, I did make one. Yeah, that I don't remember I made one, but I guess I did. I did make one. Okay. And John Matthews says, I got a dummy battery for my PL9. It worked great for hours, no overeating, but I used it for live streams. And the PL9 screen was off. Okay. Good to know. Yes, I am using a noise gate on my audio chain, Peter. Is it really terrible though? I thought the stream sounds better with a noise gate because I don't have like a central AC in my house, so I have to use fans and things to stay relatively cool. Otherwise, I'll be sweating bullets while I'm doing a live stream. Oh, you know what it is? Is the computer fan is a little bit louder on this laptop, this new laptop. That's probably what you're hearing too. I wonder if I can, let me see if I can turn the fans down a bit. What if I go to silent mode? Hopefully that doesn't mess up the stream. All right, so hopefully that's better. Now there's, yeah, I didn't even think about the fan noise. I'm so used to it now. I don't even hear it myself. If you have manual focus pull down ring, you cannot let the camera autofocus then pull down the ring so it stays focused to the setting you want. Yes. I assume you're referring to the Star AF feature. Yeah, if you can just pull the focus ring back. Because some lenses, do I even have, yeah, here's one. Some of my lenses have this feature too. Like the 12mm f2, but like the wide angle, super wide angles like the 8mm and stuff don't always have it, but you pull this down and that'll lock the focus. But you might accidentally shift focus a little bit by mistake, so I think it's better to do it through the control panel. Jimmy is waiting to do a review on it. From what he said on his live stream, and they're showing it at the beginning of the stream. Okay, good. Yeah, I'd be surprised if Jimmy didn't get one. So let me know if the noise gate is better now, instead of, I guess I could turn the mic down slightly too, the sensitivity. But I was shopping microphones to get maybe a dynamic mic instead of a condenser mic. That'll mitigate some of the ambient noise in the room. But that's like another, you know, $200-300. Just so you guys know, audio and video and photography, they're very three distinct skill sets needed to do well in each one, right? You can be a great photographer but suck at video, and vice versa. And you could be great at video but then suck at audio and vice versa. You know, it takes a lot of skill set, you know, across all three genres of media to do well. That's why a lot of times, you know, you have a separate sound guy, you have a separate light guy, video guy, you know, all the high-end production stuff. Everybody specializes in something. Mark Wolf says, is it that hard to put a mic jack in a camera? No, it's not hard. I don't know why they don't do it. I mean, it's not like the EM10 you're trying to get it weather sealed or anything where, you know, it adds a little bit of overhead to the price of the camera. There's people that have taken the top plate off their EM10s and hardwired a microphone jack themselves into the existing mics. I don't recommend anybody do that, but let's see. Rob shoots photos. Found if you use manual focus clutch using EM10 as a webcam through OBS, you don't have to hit the record button on the camera and the battery lasts much longer. Why do you hit the record button on the EM10 when you're streaming? You don't need to do that. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, if you're just trying to get a clean HDMI out, that's different. You don't have to hit the record button either. You just press and hold the info button. Oh, you're probably worried about autofocus, Rob. Just turn on full-time autofocus on the camera, and then the continuous autofocus will work. So turn on full-time autofocus, push the info button to get a clean HDMI out, and you can use an EM10 for live streaming. Okay, let's see. Hi, David. Good morning. David Crooks, he has a local photography club here, and we did a photo walk last week with some sunflowers and stuff, which was a lot of fun. Levente, you could look into mini split AC systems, cheaper and less destructive to install than central. Yes, I thought about that, but that's still like a couple $1,000 to install. I just don't have that kind of money. So I bought a new window unit, which does a really good job, but I have it on a timer, So it doesn't come on until 9 a.m. because I don't normally get up this early. I have it come on at 9 a.m. and then it keeps the house pretty cool for the most part. But back here in my office, when I got all the lights on and the AC really hasn't kicked on yet, it gets pretty warm in here, at least in the summer. In the wintertime, I'm freezing to death. Then I got space heater noise. Because the heating system in this house is like 60 years old. You know, it's back maybe 70 now. This house was built back in the 50s. Oh, okay, John. I've made you think about a G14. Yeah, it's a good little laptop. The fans are a little loud though when you're working it. Peter says, no, the noise gate is not bad at all. One just has to get used to the total silence when I stop speaking. Yeah, maybe I can play a little background music. Just a very, very light, you know, I don't know, maybe not. Levente says, also click on the battery icon and drag the slider to the middle. Because if you have it all the way to the right, Windows will keep the CPU at max speed. Oh, you're talking about the laptop. Even when not needed. I don't have a slider on my battery icon. I have power options and Windows mobility. But anyway, this laptop has a shortcut button to the power mode, so I just put it in low power, and now it's a lot quieter. And the noise gate's a little aggressive. Okay. That's possible. Like I said, I set this thing up really fast. I have it on the default settings, which is what I've always used. Roy Dale says, sounds good to me. Okay. And then Mattis says, hello from Slovakia. I was looking for advice on winter photography with Mi M10 Mark II. In particular, any issues I should know about with this particular camera with regard to temperatures? You won't know till you try. Yeah, if it's really cold, the only advice I can give you is keep spare batteries near your body, you know, keep them warm. And then when the battery dies in the camera, swap it, but put that dead battery like into a different pocket, because once it gets warm, it'll sort of rejuvenate a little bit, and you might be able to get a few more shots out of it. That's really the only advice. The cameras work, you know, people have used those things, you know, I've taken my camera out in 0 Celsius weather, but that's not that cold, right? Relatively, it's freezing for me, but it's worked fine in 0 Celsius, but it's just the batteries just don't last as long in the cold. So that's the only winter advice I can give you. And Levente says, works really well, no overheating. It's a bit slow to focus in demanding situation, but it takes really beautiful pictures. Video sucks. A newer phone is better. Okay. I don't know how overheating would be an issue in the winter. Unless I'm missing something in that question. Roy Dale says, Rob, I have an Olympus 700 WR flash. What would be the best trigger for to use with the camera flash with my EM1 Mark III? Or can I use the small flash that came with my EM? Yeah, if you just need to do an optical trigger type thing, yeah, just use any small flash. Just be sure to set that tiny one to manual mode at 1/64th power, and then just increase it as the ambient lighting gets brighter so that the trigger can see it. The optical trigger on the 700 can see it. But usually I start at like 1/64th power, minimum power and then see if it's triggering the other flash with the optical trigger. Because I don't want the light coming from the tiny flash to affect the exposure or have as minimal effect as possible on the exposure. But at some point, I think, you know, you might have to balance the two flashes together in terms of lighting. But what I used to do is I used to rotate that little tiny flash over to the left, pointing at the other flash so it doesn't affect the subject. So you just had to play with it a little bit, but it works. Yeah, it works fine. I'm wondering that the only reason, the Mark Wolf says, I'm wondering that the only reason Olympus omitted the mic jack and fully articulating screen on the M10 Mark IV is because that had M5 Mark III without PDAF. Yes. They should, if they want to segment their cameras, I don't know, you know, I think it's, and I've said this probably 1,000 times, but yeah, the M10s should be basically an M5 without weather sealing. And then you just charge, you know, maybe 200 more for the weather sealing on the camera. But if you don't want weather sealing, just buy an EM10. And that would have been a better move to me, in my opinion, because then you'll have an EM10 with all the features of an EM5, but just no weather sealing. And a lot of people don't care about that, so it might. And the people that do care about that, they're going to buy an EM5 anyway because it has, you know, other features other than just weather sealing. So, yeah. Anyhow, I agree with you. I think they were afraid that it might affect sales, like steal market share from each other. Which, you know, that's what a camera company should do, is they should build a camera that competes with its own lineup so that they're always producing the best, right? Wudang says, 5 years ago, I took my EM1 Mark IIs to Siberia and the battery got killed in a few minutes, had minus 28 Celsius. Minus 28 Celsius. That's why I got like this like sun planet behind me. I don't like the cold. And Peter says, well, noise gets cut off noise quite aggressively, and until the listener gets used to it, the impression is that something broke in the stream and you could still be speaking. I see. So I'll have to tune that a little bit later. I can just turn it off. Let me see. I turn the noise gate off. Now I see my mic jumping a little bit. How does that sound with the noise gate off? Let's see. The Marked Wolf, they're still under their shareholders, so if they still need to follow their directions, and the sale isn't finished yet. Oh, you weren't talking to me. Olympus has already sold, no reason not giving us everything. Oh, who knows? Oh, hi Andy, how are you? Always good to see you. And John Softly. The critique sessions have helped me understand Workspace, but last Sunday's computer discussion went completely over my head. I may need a little tuition on the subject. Yeah, I was kind of speaking. I was talking about my new computer, and someone had asked. You guys can probably hear my dog barking now that I turned the noise gate off, right? It sounds good on or off. It's a stream, not a movie. I think I'll turn it back on because the dog barking is distracting, and then my neighbor is very noisy where I live. Either I'm making my own noise because I have a dog, or my neighbor my neighbor behind me here does some kind of construction work, but he's always doing work at home too. So they're like sawing and got power tools going on all the time. And I'm always having a hard time trying to do videos in my own backyard because there's constant noise. I'll turn the noise gate back on. There, now we're professional, right? I just need to upgrade to a dynamic mic, right? So that the noise gate can be mitigated a little bit. I can turn it down and use a real dynamic mic with a good mixer, and you know, it's just money that seems unnecessary to spend though just for streaming. But you see all the pro streamers, right? They have these elaborate setups. And I like the noise gate because when I used to drink my coffee, like, you used to be able to hear my swallowing. I was like, man, I got to get rid of that. I hate that sound. Like I'm drinking something and you hear this gulp, gulp, gulp. Oh. I'm staying silent because my dog is barking like crazy now, but you can't hear it unless she's barking while I'm talking. All right, let's see. Peter says, yes, leave the noise gate on. You can always tweak it later. Perhaps the attack time could be extended a bit. It would remove the impression of breaking the stream. Who knows? Yeah, I'll tweak it a little bit. I just set it to the vault settings. I don't think I tweaked it in my other laptop. I think I was just using default settings, but right now I have the gain a little bit high on the mic. I'll turn that down a little bit. Oh, thank you, Mike. Mike Ham is so generous. You know, every week, you know, he sends me a few dollars. I appreciate that. And Rob, he says, Rob, I missed last Sunday's live stream and donation, so I'm making it up for today. Here's the start for your new mic. Yeah, actually what I'm waiting for is to get another free microphone. This microphone, I did a review on this one, but they sent it to me for free, right? For an exchange for the review. And at the time, it was only like a $60 mic. Including the arm and all of this other stuff. And you know, I get offers to review things in my email every day. Like today I got an offer to review the capture card that I use. Somebody said, you know, would you like to review this thing? You know, we'll send you one out for free. And I'm like, well, I already got one and I did a review on one already, but thanks anyway. And then I get weirdo things like, you know, facial masks and things that make no sense for this channel. I decline like 99% of the offers I get to review things online. Either it's just not appropriate for the channel, like a face mask, or it's not something I would really use myself that much. Like there's this one item I thought would be really handy. I need to do a review on it. I'm struggling with it. Good morning, George. How are you? And the human ear is more tolerant if it's not mono. I see. Interesting. And Wudang says, have you ever considered the Sennheiser MK440? It is the only directional stereo mic available, and it beats all the other shotgun mics. Cars become natural background noise. Wow. Yeah, I haven't looked at Sennheiser. You know, that's this, right? I have some Sennheiser headphones that were like $400. And that's headphones, you know. Microphones are I can't do it. I'll just wait till I can get a free one from someone. Or it gets to the point that, you know, if I fall into some money, maybe I'll buy one. But when you buy dynamic mics, you have to buy the mixer, which is another $200. And then I need more desk space and cable management, and you know, I mean, I don't like to make things harder than they need to be, right? It's like, just turn on the camera, plug in the mic, and go. And yeah, I got all fancy with the green screen, but once you kind of get that, like, I feel like it's too bright, or the white balance is so different. Oh look, my hand is over the chat section. I didn't even realize. Gotta move something over. Okay, maybe not that much. All right, what do you think about the digital teleconverter in the camera? It's fine. I mean, it's basically just cropping in, right? For you. I use it time to time to help me compose. Because if you're so far away that you have to use a teleconverter, digital teleconverter, um, you might as well use it and compose the shot the way you want, rather than it being so far away in the viewfinder that it's harder to compose. So I use it mainly for composition, and then sometimes I end up cropping it differently later, but it does help me to post process. So if you shoot RAW plus JPEG, the JPEG is going to be baked in and upscaled to 16 or 20 megapixels, and Olympus, it does a great job at it. But you're not going to get more detail than you would if you crop the raw file yourself, because the raw file will still be the full frame image, full wide, non-teleconverted image saved, and then you can just crop it yourself later. So I use it mainly as a tool more so than, you know, for the function itself. But I've used the teleconverter for macro photography too, right? Really close-up photography, because once you get really close, you get so much detail anyway. So again, it's fine for general photography. I wouldn't hesitate to use it at all. You know, if you're really critical and doing pro work, paid work, I wouldn't use it. But 9 times out of 10, it's very hard to tell the difference. Yeah, the MK440 goes for around 350, and it's most likely that's a dynamic mic, so I would need a mixer of some kind too. And that's another couple $100 for a cheap one, you know? Searching for an umbrella kit and backdrop kit. Is Neewer any good? Yes, it's fine. That's what I use. I don't know if it's the Neewer brand, but you know, all those brands are made by the same, they're virtually identical, right? When you look at all the different low-end umbrella kits, like I paid $60 for my set. It's okay. It's fine. It won't last as long if you're a professional and taking it everywhere, scene to scene. Like I bought these separate light stands. They were about $70 each, but they're stainless steel and very durable. But that's because I use it for pro work, right? But for the studio here, like what I'm using to hold the backdrop, I'm using this very generic E-Mart down there. See, there's my fan. Oh, E-Mart. And then these clips, and I mean, it's not an umbrella kit, but it's generally, we're talking about the same kind of quality stuff, right? It's fine. I mean, umbrellas and light stands and things like that, just buy the cheapest you can. The Neewer, it's pronounced newer actually. It's not Neewer, even though it's spelled that way. The guy at Neewer, one of the reps corrected me. um, but yeah, don't spend a lot of money on that stuff if you're getting started. And then when you want to upgrade, I bought these Photix PHOTTIX light stands that are stainless steel, that I really like. Meta says, I have another question. I can't see the live view and viewfinder. How will picture really looks? For example, if I change ISO, is there any probability to see changes in the viewfinder? If you're talking about changes in the actual exposure, you really don't have a lot of wiggle room on the Olympus cameras. Only plus or minus 3 stops in good light. So yeah, that's definitely an issue, especially when the light gets lower. You don't have a lot of wiggle room to see what the final exposure is gonna look like. So really, I've personally gotten into the habit of just, you know, particularly in low light, taking the picture and looking at it after it's taken to see if the exposure's what I want. You can't rely on the viewfinder or the live view generally when the light gets low. In good light, you have plus or minus 3 stops of wiggle room on exposure, and it should be pretty accurate. But anytime the light starts to drop, like you're down to say 1/60th of a second or slower, it doesn't take much. That's when you start to run into issues with the live view not matching what you see in the final exposure. Oh, robtrek says, I'll have to check settings. Seems CF will only work when the camera is recording, but not locking off. The 17mm f1.8 gives enough. No, just put it in full-time autofocus. It'll work. And Wuday says the thing is the MK440 is proper 5.1 stereo. Can it compare with the rest what is on the market? It gives you 3D perception, so background noise is no issue. Interesting. I mean, I thought 5.1. I have to look into it, but it's just out of my price range. I just don't see myself spending. I think the MK440 was one of my, because you know I watch Curtis Judd. He's one of the best sound guys I've ever seen on YouTube. Anyway, he really has a lot of experience. So if you guys are interested in audio, watch Curtis Judd. I mean, he does a lot of high-end reviews, but he does some, you know, entry-level reviews as well. And it helped me choose my very first wireless mic system, which I was very happy with. And on the higher end stuff, he did have a selection of microphones that he likes to use, and he gets really, like sound guys, you know, just like photography guys, right? You can bore somebody to tears about your topic, and then Curtis can do that for hours. He'll talk about sound. And if you're into sound and want to get into sound, it's awesome. But you know, if you just want like what's a good mic, he has a few videos at different price levels. Anyhow, yeah, check out Curtis Judd channel and just get a feel for it. I mean, a lot of it, if you're not into sound, is gonna just you just be crying like, oh God, you know. But once you get a feel for his channel, you'll know where to look and find the specific things you want to get, right? Like search his channel for best entry-level mic or best microphone for video. You know, it's been a while since I've been to his channel because I'm kind of settled on this mic, but when I was first looking for sound gear, I watched a lot of his channel, a lot. I was really into it. And Rob Shoe Photo says, I did buy that microphone and cheap capture card using the affiliate links. It works great, and I get over 2 hours for my EM10 as a webcam. Oh yeah, that's right. This little device here, when you're using this, the screen turns off on the EM10. So if the screen and EVF are off, the only thing on is the sensor, and you do get like I can see where you can get about 2 hours out of an EM10 using this thing. And I assume you got the same mic I did then, because I'm pretty sure this is the mic I put in the affiliate link. I put the tabletop version in. I don't think I put the one with the arm. But that's good. Are you streaming or are you just doing teleconferencing, Rob? And then Peter says, guys, umbrella kit or softbox kit? What are the differences? Which one would be better for video, teleconferences? Well, the main difference is an umbrella spread the lights everywhere, right? All over the room. Softbox kisses, softbox kisses. Softbox kits direct the light in one direction and doesn't spill over quite as much. And I think either way is fine. Soft boxes will cost a little more, and they require a little more stable setup. You know, you need sturdier gear. Sometimes you need like Bowens mounts. So soft boxes are you know, they just direct the light a little bit more because they're enclosed and they focus the light in one direction. So I would, you know, either one is fine, really. But I think a softbox is a better choice in most cases. If you want to spend a little bit more. Umbrellas are good. Like I said, they spread light everywhere. I use one umbrella here. Let me show you. This umbrella here. It has a silver lining inside, so it doesn't spill the light onto the ceiling back down and mess up my white balance, right? However, the problem with using a silver umbrella is with a green screen is the green reflects off the silver back onto me. So I don't get as good a separation in green screening when I use a silver umbrella. But I have to use a silver umbrella because I don't have powerful lights, you know. These are 75 watt equivalents, and this is a 100 watt equivalent. So using a silver umbrella concentrates the light a little better. So I get more out of a 75 watt bulb than I would if I used a regular soft umbrella. But the soft umbrella would solve the problem of me, because if I wear certain color shirts, like if I wear a very light color shirt, the green reflects off the silver umbrella here onto my shirt, and then you start to see through my shirt, right? You see the background. Very complicated. It shouldn't be so hard, you know? I would love to just set up a desk and no green screen and just chit chat. But you can see what a mess my room is. If you saw what was right behind this green screen, you know, you'd be like calling, you know, hoarders, you know, to come over and help me. You say, yeah, Rob has a problem. Somebody go help Rob. Anyway, let's see. Wu-Dang says, I might buy it when I go to China. It was great for vlogs and atmosphere. Yeah. Wu-Dang's talking about the MK440. That's interesting, though. And he says, Rode has a similar mic, but the MK440 wins. I'll have to check out Curtis Jug. I'm sure he's done a review on the MK440. It might have been one of his recommended things. And then Roy says, I think your setup is great. A lot of chatter between Levente and Wu-Dang. Like I said, sound is a whole different category. And Levente says, also, I agree, robtrek. I can bore people to death with photo, sound, and cars. Yeah. Levente is a very competent photographer as well. And also, I think you have some background as a in programming, right? For cameras specifically, programming things for cameras. So I'm surprised you're on my channel because my channel is geared really for beginners. There's so many of you. You have so much experience, right? Like, and you're on my channel, you know, just to get that one little nugget that, oh, I didn't think of that, right? And then Rob says, I set up to do both live stream and video conference, but mainly for Zoom. I got tired of yelling at my laptop because of the garbage webcam mic, and it went all the way with the setup. Yeah, for cheap, right? For less than $100, right? Like $20 for this capture card, maybe $50 for the mic. You know, prices on this mic has gone up. This same setup is $100 now, I think. But when I got it, it was only like $50 or 60. I forget exactly. And you could buy the desktop mic for like $30, but now everything is expensive. Anything to do with streaming is expensive. And Levente says, yeah, oh, sorry. No, the camera programming isn't me. I'm just a regular software developer. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, there was another guy though that I'm getting my viewers here crossed. There was another guy that programmed specifically the software for cameras. Not the firmware, but well, it's part of the firmware. But he did the it was for a Nikon. He programmed in the satellite GPS syncing or something. I forget exactly, but it was on the software side in cameras. And he knew what was going on. And let's see. Dante says Swatted Zeos did a setup where he went to do a car show with 2 mics strapped to a GoPro on a gimbal, and it was as if you were there. I think it's stereo on the inside too. Huh. Interesting. And then Roberto De Niro says, I tried Luminar 4. Boy, you can get carried away with the AI and end up all over saturation hell. That's funny. Yeah, I think that's why I'm not a big fan of AI or you know, I do these live editing photo streams, but in my own personal photography, like not my pro work, but on my personal stuff, I don't do a lot of editing. Like if you look at my Flickr page, you know, everything with the Olympus cameras, most of that was done, or my Instagram page, I should say, 9 times out of 10, it's straight out of camera image. Other than the obvious, you know, special effects that I was trying to do fun. But post-processing in general is just, oh my God, I have to do it so much in my pro work that when I get to my personal work, I don't want to deal with it. And now that I do it, but I do it in my live stream photo editing sessions because, you know, I think it's very useful, and you can really enjoy photography a lot if you get into post-processing. It takes photography to another level, right? So I do that as an educational, more for education and just have some fun about how to use workspace and just have some fun with the edits, chopping them up and stuff. But like I said, I have to do so much editing in pro work that by the time I get home or want to do, you know, my personal stuff, I like to, you know, it's really good to try to get things in camera correctly as you can. It helps me with my pro work as well, because I still make mistakes. Gosh, I hope they're not watching, but man, I made a mistake on my last job. Two really big mistakes. Luckily, you know, we have a certain rapport that it was okay, but I missed an entire office inside the building. I mean, all the offices look alike pretty much, so it wasn't that big a deal. Or I'm sorry, when the offices look all alike, that it's not a big deal, right? It's like, yeah, there's 12 offices here and they all look like this one. But this particular space, every office was different. And I missed one. Because I got distracted by one of the tenants there. They came in, they weren't supposed to be there, but they came in. And so I had to quickly do this one room, and she was walking around, and it just disorientated me while I was working. And I missed one office. And then another mistake I made was I didn't adjust the flash power correctly on some of the rooms. So I was able to do post-processing it to get it you know, 90% there, good enough for what they need it for. But as a professional photographer, you know, I didn't do a great job on a couple of the rooms because I didn't adjust the flash power correctly. Like I said, it looks fine and after you post process it, but I can see a little bit of color is off and a little bit of noise. It's not right. So little things, nothing they noticed at all. But anyhow, hi Rob and everyone. Forget you are now doing Tuesday. I was greasing up all the screws on my new underwater system. Nature with music. Good to see you, AJ. Hi. Ah, some people are dropping in while I was kind of feeling my guts about what a bad job I did on my last job. I used to be a professional cinematographer, 35mm film. I'm learning so much about digital through your videos. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, a lot of you have so much experience. Once you kind of get over that little bit of learning curve with digital, you guys are gonna rock, you know, as a lot of you have. Um, don't forget we used to spend hours in the darkroom, yeah. End of the triangle. True. And Criminal says, with most streams, so long as voice and audio is reasonable, what makes us watch them is the content. Yeah, it's basically about the personality, right, and the content. Uh, yeah, you can watch a super 4K video and be bored to tears. Nobody's gonna watch a stream like that, right? If it's boring, even if it is in 4K. And let's see. Good day, Beryl. Oh, AJ, yes, yes, Peter. Everybody's kind of coming in and out here with each other. You guys are catching up with each other. That's good. Yeah, it's a great little community here that you guys all come together, you know, just on my streams, but a lot of your streams. It's funny though, when I go to like I watch Jimmy's stream sometimes and Joe Edelman, they have really good streams. Jimmy's streams really do well. He rocks on his streams. But I think but I don't see I see a lot of you guys there on Jimmy's stream. But then I see a lot of people I've never seen before. You know, like you know, you kind of get a feel, right, when you watch the streams all the time, like who your followers are and, you know, you see regular and who you don't. And yeah, Jimmy's streams rock though. He does a good job. And Joe Edelman, he does a really good job too. They both do them on Wednesdays. Like Jimmy's in the morning for me and Joe Edelman's in the evening. Joe's a little bit more generic. He talks more about photography. Uh and things going on, but he's definitely a solid guy. He's very helpful. Okay. Any other questions for me though about seems like I have to write things down all the time now because the questions are tough. Auto ISO, what's this one? ISO limiter in video. Yeah, Canon has that feature, come to think of it, because I still have that Canon RP I need to kind of get through. Canon has a really good settings. It has some settings that would be awesome if Olympus had it, and vice versa. If Canon had a few features from Olympus, it would be awesome. Um, but that Canon RP, just some takes a little getting used to some of the things. I mean, nothing that should be a deal breaker, menu and ergonomic wise. But it does have it. What I really like about the Canon camera and the Fujifilm, and just about any other camera than Olympus, is they let you adjust the ISO in video, right, to anything you want basically. Whereas on the newer Olympuses, well, on any of the Olympuses, they limited you to either 3200 ISO or 6400 ISO, depending on what mode you're in when you're in video. And you know, I don't like it. I don't like that. They should let you just pick whatever ISO you want. You know, I don't care if I want ISO 100,000. You know, why artificially limit that to the videographer or photographer? Joe's video on the OM10 IV was very good. Yes, yes. He does a very high level overview of the camera. Um, he's not a channel for like pixel peeping, right? And looking at differences, you know, subtle differences in image quality. He's more about just the overall handling and uh, features of the camera. But as far as pixel peeping, and you know, honestly, cameras for the last 10 years have been about the same. You know, yeah, there's been significant improvements in noise and ISO and features, but if you're shooting at base ISO, uh, just about any camera in the last 10 years, it'd be hard to tell the difference between them for just general image quality. There's not a lot of difference. Sometimes you can see differences in colors and things like that, but in terms of just pure image quality, there's not a whole lot of difference. And Roberto says, flash photography looks too bluish. Any tips for a more natural look? Yeah, it really depends on the scene. You can you can artificially warm up the flash, because right now, for example, when you have it on auto white balance, when you have a flash, normally the white balance will switch to flash mode, right? And flash white balance is, I believe it's 5200K, so you would just dial in like 5500K or 6000K manually when you're using flash. So like right now it's auto white balance. I know with the green screen it looks weird. Just set it to like 5600K or 5700K when you're using flash, and that should warm it up, rather than letting the camera use the normal flash white balance. I can't remember exactly what the number is for flash, because every software pulls up the white balance differently. So you can't go by what the software says. Workspace doesn't even show you a number, I don't think. I'm trying to think. Let me look at Workspace. I just did a photo job with a bunch of flash. So let me see. If I have a screen. Yeah, I have a screen. So let me go in. Where's my job at? Is it no? Oh, no. This. No, I was just doing some testing. When did I just did this photo job yesterday or day before? It's gotta be. Oh, here it is. Here's one with flash, right? So what's the white balance? It's set to auto. 3200. What is it over here? Well, those are bracketed shots. This has got to be the. Let me find a flash. It's hard to tell which one I used flash. This here. That can't be. This bracket. Where's my flash shot? There it is. There's a flash shot. 5,002. Got a flash shot or not? Yeah, that's a flash shot. So 5,206 or 203. So try shooting at like 5500K. So if I put this at 5500K in camera. Yeah, it warms it up just a little bit. It might be hard to see on the stream, but see what I mean? I was talking about the offices in this space. Every office was different, you know, and I missed one. Like, look at this. This office is very different than the last office. Just can't believe it. Anyhow, uh, nobody wants to see that garbage. There we go. Wudang says, I really miss the days of with my Olympus EM1 Mark II. It was very functional camera. Is there any MFT camera with a backlit stacked CMOS sensor that would show a lot lower noise levels? No, there is not. The closest thing is like the GH5S with the 12 megapixel micro four thirds sensor. But yeah. Yeah, you know, for video, I don't know. I don't really have a problem with the noise and things in the camera, but like when I'm on a photo job, I use flash, so it's usually noise is no issue at all for me because I have control over the light. And then for video, you need tons of lighting. But I can see in your scenario where you're in a studio or when you do those videos indoors in your dojo, right? Sometimes you don't have as much light as you would need to get the lowest ISO and least amount of noise. I don't know if you guys even call it a dojo, the Wudang stuff that you guys do. Do they make dynamic mics with a USB interface? They do, but don't buy those. The USB, because the USB interface is usually some El Cheapo thing like this device, right? Where that audio, because it still has to convert the analog to digital. And usually when they build the audio interface into the USB part, it's very low quality, so don't buy those. The only exception being is Samson, SAMSON, has a relatively inexpensive dynamic mic that has a built-in USB audio interface. It's about a $60 microphone that, you know, for 60 bucks gets a lot of praise with a built-in USB interface. Because I looked at that myself, right? I was like, if I can get a dynamic mic with a USB interface built in, that would be best of both worlds, right? You get sort of that better ambient, less noise rejection, but you also get the ease of the USB interface. And after I researched that a little bit, I found that generally speaking, the most of the dynamic mics that come with a USB interface built in are crap. The USB interface part is crap, with the exception of that one Samsung. Now there may be other things out there that I don't know about because I didn't shop it that hard. You know, I was shopping at a certain price point, right? But maybe there's some very high-end mics that have USB interfaces built in. But again, you know, if you're going to spend that kind of money, you really need to know what you're doing with audio before you just buy things, right? So you get what you really need. But there's a Samsung $60 microphone that you can look at. Nature says, I use a mixture of flash units, reflectors, and LED lights. Make adjustments in software and editing, but as you say, it can vary between manufacturers and of course screen you're using. Yes. Levente says interfaces for dynamic mics aren't that expensive. They're not. I mean, you can find them for $50 to $100. At a minimum, I wouldn't spend less than that for an interface, because then they really get crappy. I mean, the thing is, it depends on what level you want to go, right? I have two mindsets about audio right now. One is this, where I got everything for free, right? $50 here for not, I mean, not you know, they didn't give me high-end stuff for free, but my investment is very low and the quality is really decent, right? Good enough. And in a stream, nobody's going to be able to tell if I'm using a $400 mic or if I'm using a $50 mic. You know, it's going to be very, very difficult to tell for the untrained ear. If at all, if it's even possible. However, when I was shopping for mics and things consistently, I was like, I'm gonna buy one good one, right? I'm gonna buy like a $200-300. They have some $400 interfaces. I get one good one because I'm only gonna buy it once. It's not like my camera gear where I buy tons of stuff. So if you just want to set up very minimal, just start with a USB condenser mic like this for $50 and the quality will be fine. But if you want to go hardcore into it, yeah, take some time to do some due diligence and research different interfaces, different kinds of microphones, you know, the difference between boom mics, because boom mics have a whole other set of criteria you need to consider. You know, when they get really long, the cardioid pattern gets very narrow. But then you also start picking up radio interference, because now the boom mic is like an antenna picking up radio interference. So it has to have good radio interference rejection. And then the dynamic cabling also has to be radio shielded. And then the USB interface has to be very high quality. I mean, there's so many things that, you know, I was looking at about $700 or $800 for decent audio setup for just live streaming. And then it hit me, I'm looking at $700 or $800 setup for live streaming. It's like, why you know, it just doesn't make any sense. You know, we're talking, you know, these are like studio quality parts. So anyhow, no, I believe it's from condenser to dynamic. I'm not sure where that conversation is. I have the cheapest Behringer's Xenex something. It sucks so bad I had to chuck it. It was like 50 euros. Yeah. We kind of call it a training hall. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Wudang. I didn't think you called it a dojo. That sounds more Japanese. And Nature says, yes, I also used to have Behringer mixer, but have changed to Soundcraft. Definitely superior. I was looking at a, now I can't even remember. It's not even in my shopping cart anymore. It's like $400. Dang it, I have some of their gear too, and I can't think of the brand name. Oh well. It's like a $400 mixer, but it was really nice. all the sliders were creaky after the warranty expired. That's hilarious. Yeah, very limited with lights. Yeah. I get that. I get that, Wudang. That was a conversation from 10 minutes ago, right? uh Hi Brian, how are you? Good to see you. And Peter says, oh, that's for Levente. AJ is asking me, what's the best solution to store camera and lenses when not in use? At the moment, they all stay in my camera bag. Is there a better solution out there? It really depends on your budget, right? A lot of people buy those little silicone, I don't know if it's silicone, but those little dry packets that you can buy and wrap their gear in Ziploc bags with those little dry packets. And store their lenses and gear that way. That's the cheapest way to do it. That's fairly effective. Uh, you know, what I do is I put those little those silicone thingies. I forget what they're called exactly, but they're little packets that you always throw away when you buy stuff, and you know they little bags of tiny dehumidifying gel packs or something. But those things, and those things are reusable. You buy the ones that have the colored ones in them so that they change color, then you know it's time to rejuvenate them, and you do it in the oven. But yeah, that's probably the best way. Just buy those large freezer or Ziploc bags and put it in together with that. Um, that'll keep things dry and cool. The other option would be, if you really want to store things long term, is you get a case that controls humidity, uh, and put things in. I don't do any of that. I just stack everything up. I mean, you know, you can see I got this shelf here that I stack all my gears and lenses and crap. Uh, you know, so I can't lead by example, you know. But I did look when I did look into it, those are the things that I saw recommended for storing things longer term. And Nature says, I do not usually record live sound as add music in post-production. If I wish to record wildlife, I have to use a parabolic dish with a condenser mic. Wow, that's hardcore, man. Parabolic dish with a you're like a I Spy guy. Uh, you know, the other thing you can think about is we probably talked about this before. Is use a wireless mic, put it somewhere near where the wildlife is. Like in my case, I would put it on a bird feeder, right? Some people, what they do is they throw food out to a certain spot and they put the microphone nearby, wireless mic. But it's not as mobile as, say, a parabolic dish, right? Because you can move spot to spot with a parabolic dish. Audiophiles are fanatics. I know, right? My hearing's so bad now that just like my eyesight, and let's see. Silica packets. Thank you. Thank you, Levente. Will you think of buying the 150 to 400 Pro lens when it drops? No. Uh, I cannot. That's just too expensive. I'm happy with the 75 to 300. Actually, I'm not that happy with it. It doesn't take terrible images, but when I use primes all the time and then I drag that thing out, I'm like, you know. Will it be great to make occasionally like a contest on a theme and talk about it one of these sessions, beginner level? Roberta, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Since I'm a little behind, I lost track what that might have been talking. If you could repeat that for me. Um, Good morning in South Florida. Oh, Marcia, good morning. I run the air 24/7. That's how I keep my gear dry. Yes. Yep. I can't do that. It's just too expensive. You know, I mean, my electric bill, people would just kill to have the electric bill as low as mine. But I have to keep my expenses really low. My electric bill typically is under $100 a month. All right, I haven't tried this. Mike Ham is saying, I haven't tried this yet, but can the EM13 do exposure bracketing in high-res shot mode? Or do you have to do it manually? I think you would have to do it manually. I haven't tried it myself, honestly. I mean, let me think. Where's my EM13? Sorry about that. uh, I use this now for my photo jobs. So let me take this, just put this in aperture and high-res shot mode. Why? It's changing. Zero charge time. Handheld. Okay. And turn bracketing on. Let's say we do 3 frames, third of an exposure. And high res mode is not coming on. Let me turn bracketing off. High res shot on. Let me turn bracketing back on. No, you can't. You have to do it manually. As soon as I turn bracketing on, high res shot mode turns off. All right. Try recording kookaburras. You need earmuffs. I didn't even know what those are. And Nature says, at robtrek, both my eyesight after 2 operations and my hearing after 24 years as a sound engineer with my 6 kilowatt rig are not in great shape. Yeah. I bet. And Levente says, I always wonder how Rob has the money to buy all the camera stuff, but he always says that he has to save a lot. Yes. Yeah, I spent all my money on gear. And let's see, buying camera gear is different than buying just about anything else that I do, because camera gear is tax deductible for me. So I'm basically getting it for half price. It's very, very different, right? Like if I buy an air conditioner, that's not tax deductible. That's like full on out of pocket. Very different buying camera gear versus buying other stuff. You know, when I drive my car, it's basically pays for itself because of the mileage write-offs. And when I buy camera gear, you know, that gets expensed out over, you know, 24 months. So it's different buying things for business. But when I buy things, other things, yeah, I have to minimize all of that expense. So I don't know, just, you know, that's basically how it works for me anyway. That and maxing out my Best Buy card. Because Best Buy, they give you 0% financing, so that's why I try to buy things at Best Buy, because I get 0%. And if I don't get 0%, I usually get some rewards money back, just enough to buy like a movie or a video or something. uh, but yeah, that's how it works for me, Levante. Kookaburra is a bird that has a laugh as its bird call. Oh, that's awesome. I have to look that up. Kookaburra. Let's see.
Oh, your game just gets to buy an update. It's switching time.
Commercials.
To a Chromebook, updates automatic. Switch to updates without it.
What is this?
Switch to Chromebook.
Video will play after the ad. Oh my god. Okay. That is pretty awesome. uh I gotta save that video. Oh my god. Where's the save button? Oh, it's down here. Save. Watch later. I gotta watch that later. Sounds like a car that won't start. Wait till you hear 100 of them going off. Man, that's crazy. Yes, Marsha, the 75 to 300 is good in good light. And John says the 75 to 300 arrived yesterday. It's a bit heavier than expected. Need to test the sharpness and target before deciding to keep it. Yeah, you have to be in good light though. And just shoot it wide open, f6.7. Don't try stopping it down. It's better to have the faster shutter speed than the tiny bit of any gain you might get at f8 or f7. It's a tough lens. For me, it's been a very tough lens to get a good image out of it. Unless it's really good light. The kookaburras up north sound different than that one. Huh. Really? You hear them all the time over there, huh, Liz? Wow. I've never heard a bird like that. Apparently they have them at Cincinnati Zoo. I don't know anything about birds, but there's a blue-tail one up north that doesn't laugh at all, huh? And then Nature says my wife has the 75 to 300 lens, which she uses with the M5 and Pen F and loves it. I can assure you that the lens is light compared to the 300 Pro, yeah. Yeah, it's an okay lens. I mean, you know, for 400 bucks or less, you know, it's great. But it has to be in good light. Florida is not the best place to be. Too many people refusing to put on masks. Really? I mean, it's hot in Florida. I can see where doing this all day long in 100-degree humid weather is tough. There's a lot of young people there too, right? They don't care about anything. They think they're superhumans. At Peter says Florida's, oh, okay, really? Yeah, I get that. They're a little bit better here. Most places I go, people have their mask on. You know, I always wear my mask. If you see the video I did the other day, well, you wouldn't have seen it because it's for one of my clients. But there's a reflection of me in the office window where I got my mask on, you know, and I'm outside. Yes, John, 359 now. I saw that. $359 from the outlet. That's an amazing deal. And Quinn says, I was taking photos with my M1 Mark II of floodwater on the weekend. I was using high res to get blurred water movement. Is there another way to get long exposure blur movement without high res? The only other way is an ND filter. Yeah, just using an ND filter, a variable ND filter. Probably the best, you know, if you really want to focus on that, I would start with a variable ND filter like a K&F X Nano. You want to get the X Nano versions. But a 10 stop ND filter would definitely do the trick. And then you have to be on a tripod. Obviously, well, if you're in high res mode, you're on a tripod. But yeah, that's the only other way. You could also try, I haven't tried this myself yet, but you could try live composite. That might work. But you're going to be at a half a second shutter speed. So again, an ND filter would be in order. But maybe an ND filter with live composite. I'll have to try that one time. I think America called kookaburras kingfishers. Oh, really? That didn't look like a kingfisher to me. Yeah, doesn't look anything like a kingfisher. Kingfishers are generally blue, and they got this crown on their head, and I've gotten a few shots of some. Not good shots, but I know what they look like. Yeah, criminal, everything in Australia is crazy high. I just can't believe the prices you guys pay down there. And then David Travis says, how do you manage noise with long exposure greater than 3 minutes with the M12? I prefer not to use the long exposure noise reduction as it adds time to the shot. Oh, I always use the long exposure noise reduction, but if you don't, the only other option would be is to take a separate black frame. There's really no way around it. 3 minute plus exposures that I can think of. I always use long exposure noise reduction. It just works, you know. The only the solution I tell people is bring 2 cameras, you know. I know that's not really an option, but for me, that's what I do. Is if I'm going to be doing long exposure photography, I'm going to bring 2 cameras at least with me, so that one is always free for me to do other things or set up for the next shot. Not a great answer. I'm sorry. Do you flash all your pro work? Yes. All the indoor shots are about 99% flash. And then outdoor shots are 99%, just ambient light. But it's different. Flash lets you equalize the colors, right? So, because, real estate photography is like product photography. The colors have to be right. They don't have to be extremely accurate like in real product photography, but they have to be pretty accurate, close enough so that when the people go in the office, they don't say, man, I thought these walls were green, but they're blue, right? Uh, and that's the hardest time that I have with lighting. A lot of times is when the walls are not white. If people paint their walls blue and green and all kinds of colors, flash is really important. Nature says, believe there's an ND integrated filter in the EM1 Mark III. Still looking at buying this, but waiting for 150 to 400 Pro. I've been saving nearly a year now. Yeah. Wow. The ND is sort of a digital ND filter in EM1 Mark III. It's not a real ND filter. I think it behaves similar to live composite, but you don't have to be at a half a second shutter speed. You can use normal shutter speeds with live ND. But that said, yeah, if you want to get smooth waterfalls, a real ND filter is the way to go. Navente says the M5 Mark III is $1330 US, including tax without a lens. It's criminal here too. Wow. There are around 120 species of kingfishers found all over the world. Yeah, I have no idea. The kingfisher that if I see a kingfisher, it's because it's blue and has a crown. If I see another bird that's a kingfisher, I won't know it's a kingfisher unless someone tells me. My waterproof case so you can keep everything covered while you're walking around. Okay. Well, I don't know. Did anybody have any other questions or want to talk about anything? Because it's been a couple hours. Maybe I should wrap it up. I'm getting really hungry. Is everyone doing all right? I'll be back on Thursday for another live stream, hopefully. We'll see. I have some family things that have come up today. or came up last night. I wasn't sure I was gonna be able to stream today, so I might not be able to stream this week at all after today. So I'll talk about it later. And some people wanted me to talk about the Apple, why I don't buy Apple products either. So I'll talk about all that stuff on Thursday's stream. So I appreciate everybody coming in today. I appreciate your time, and hopefully, we'll see you guys again on Thursday or Sunday. Thanks again. And I don't have an end screen for this stream right now because of this new computer. So I just have to hit end, and it's just gonna go black. Sorry guys, we'll see you later.